Are you involved in some documentary about the phenomenon of teacher-student sex?
I have been asked to host and narrate a documentary. The executive producer is Stephen Beer. The name of the documentary is After School. There's actually a website if people want more information on it. It's afterschooldocwoneword.com. And its focus is to get into the proliferation of student and the teacher sexual relationships.
Why are you doing that?
To provide some insight to me, to give some closure, because I've never received an answer from her yet. And I think this is a vehicle in which we can get behind the psyche of a teacher, you know, why she's willing to give up everything, as well as really understand what the consequences are to a student that is involved with this type of relationship. You know,
Are they doing it now?
It's being assembled right now. It's in the preliminary stages.
Where do you go on the web again?
So it's afterschooldocwoneword.com.
We're going to focus on this documentary. When's it due out?
There's no timeline yet. So
what's the website again?
It's afterschooldocwoneword.com.
It's all one word, After School
All
DOC.
one word.
Look, if you want more information on that coming documentary, it's After School Doc. It's AFTERSCHOOLDOC, right? Mm-hmm. .com.
Correct.
And if you go to that website, it'll give you a whole bunch of further information.
We've covered dozens of these cases in the past year, dozens and dozens, in just the last year. I mean, what in the world do you think is going on? So many young, attractive female teachers, such as your wife, having sex with underage male students. What's going on?
Well, Greg, as you may very well know, I'm working on a documentary to study this very fact, and I think it comes down to one of two things. Number one, male students in particular are being encouraged to come forward. They're not afraid to do so. And number two, it's getting more public attention. Mm-hmm. The media is sensationalizing this specifically because these teachers are attractive, and I think it's an enigma to us all.
So many of these cases taking place not only in Alabama, of course, but schools across the country. The husband of a Florida teacher facing similar charges is looking into that question, and he's teamed up with the makers of a documentary on the subject of teacher-student abuse. The film will be called After School. Chris, thanks very much for joining us.
Megan, as you know, I'm working on a documentary to try to get inside the psyche of a teacher willing to do this, and it boggles me a lot of times. It just seems very surreal.
But Owen, I know that you're divorced now, but you're spending a lot of time talking and thinking about Deborah here because you're working on a project. Can you just real briefly describe what it is?
Exactly. I'm working on a documentary that its purpose is to kind of delve into the psychological nature.
I understand you're working on a documentary?
That is correct.
And what's the documentary?
The documentary is really to study the phenomenon itself, whether or not this is something that's just being reported more, or if it's. But I'm also working on a documentary as well as a book.
So you've you've picked up the pieces and things are going great in your life. At least it sounds that way.
Things are going great. I'm trying to take a negative and turn it into something positive.
Well, it certainly seems like you have. When's this documentary coming out?
We're in production right now and interviewing experts from all over the country, interviewing teachers as well as some victims. So it's really exciting, and it's really starting to come together. I'm working on a documentary After School that we were just getting ready to send into post-production, and now this may change it.
Joining us from Tampa is attorney Jeff Brown, who was asked to defend Ms. Ragosa but declined, and Owen LaFave, the former husband of Deborah, who has produced a documentary called After School about the situation.
Well, it's a new documentary that's in the works called After School that will examine a subject, Chris, that I don't have to tell you a lot of people are talking about.
Sounds like the kind of thing a lot of parents might be interested in their kids saying, you know.
Oh, and you're doing a documentary, and this is the topic.
But it's something that I had to do. I mean, I had no closure, so I really wanted to find out why this happened, and
Yeah.
Did you ever talk to Deborah about it? You know, I did. I asked her on a number of occasions why, and she never gave me an answer, so I never had that closure. So this documentary was part of me trying to gain that closure and get some insight into it.
Yeah, this is going to be a good documentary, and thank you for being a part of it. Let us know when it's out.
Yeah, sharing your stories. We do appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thanks, Doc.